Welcome, everyone. We're so excited that you're here for our Enable webinar. Whether you're a longtime client of ours or this is your first encounter with us, we're glad you're here. I'm Carolyn, and I'm the Content Marketing Specialist at Enable Ministry Partners, and today we'll be focusing on AI in the church. Leading our webinar today is Scott, our president and founder of Enable Ministry Partners, and Melody Parlett, our managing director of Dallas and Fort Worth. Before I hand it over to Scott, a few items before we begin. You can pause and rewind the webinar at any point. Just use the icons in the bottom left of your screen. Also, if you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them by scanning the QR code that will be provided at the end of the webinar. We're excited to learn what you have for us today, Scott and Melody, so take it away whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Carolyn. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for joining us today as we talk about AI. AI is right in the middle of what Enable Ministry Partners has always been about, and that's helping churches and ministries utilize technology in such a way that ministry grows, and people are served, and the kingdom of God is expanded. So now what's different about AI in terms of anything else we've ever done is that AI really does represent the fastest growing, most revolutionary technology innovation of our lifetime. Adoption rates of all kinds of different AI tools are skyrocketing, and there's really very few areas of life and business and ministry and just human interaction that are not already being affected by AI, and church is no exception. And while some church leaders are grasping the fact that there are really powerful ways that AI can help them minister and serve and connect more effectively, there's a lot of churches, probably more churches to be honest, that are reticent about jumping in and are concerned about, what does it mean? Is it real? Is it dangerous? Is it hype? Is it fake? Is it good? Is it bad? And so part of what I wanted to talk to everyone today about was, why are we reticent? What are the things that kind of hold us back from sort of jumping in and utilizing what could be a very, very powerful tool? So really, I'd say there's kind of two primary things that, and they're opposite but related, and they both contribute, right? The first is kind of the view of the downside, and it's kind of the challenge of fear. Anytime that people are confronted with new situations, new paradigms, or new technology for sure, it's real common to feel apprehensive about the downside and the possible negative effects. Because the way we're wired as fallen humans, we can immediately grasp very concretely and tangibly onto the bad stuff, the things that seem harmful or seem dangerous or seem different and weird. And that can prevent us from adopting things that could actually be super helpful. The flip side of that is, and related to that is, a lot of times when people are presented with a new technology, they really don't grasp how powerful it can be and how helpful it can really be. So they've got all this negative stuff in their head, and they don't see a corresponding kind of benefit to it that also can be something that kind of holds us back. So I did want to kind of talk about these two things briefly as we move forward. First of all, the challenge of fear, and there's a lot of psychological principles that are just common and well known to everyone. We might not know all the words, but we certainly know the feelings. So loss aversion just says, hey, look, if I've already got something, it's way more painful to me to lose something I already have than not to gain something I don't have. We tend to focus on the negative. That's what gets our attention. That's what's more powerful and real to us. And we don't need to go any further than the nightly news to see that. And even in the way things are marketing, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, they sell. They really do. So you couple that with fear of the unknown and the media telling all the horror stories about all the bad stuff that happens. We don't know where a lot of this technology is being developed, and we may not trust the companies. And then confirmation bias kind of says, yeah, once we've kind of formed an opinion, it is very hard to let go of that and go back. So that's kind of the challenge of fear. That's the downside. And that is very powerful because it's wired into us. On the flip side, and this is not new, by the way, either. I mean, this is not a new, AI is not the first time this has ever happened. Past technology inflection points like AI, and you can read them right there: printing press, radio and television, the telephone, personal computers, even ATMs when they came on the scene, and the internet. All of these, which we're very comfortable with now, we see the benefit, we use them all the time. They've changed our lives for the better in most cases. We're very comfortable with them, but there was a time when it was just like AI, when people were concerned and they did have some fear about it, and they also didn't see, kind of where that could potentially take us. Skipped over a slide there. So, technology predictions, I wanted to say, they're not for the faint of heart. It is very hard to see on the front end, to be fair, all the things that can happen. We saw that with the internet, and we'll go over some of these examples. So like I said, these other technologies were the same as AI. People trying to really understand where they were. Look at the telephone. Western Union internal memo said the telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. Of course, they had a competing product, so they didn't really want to see it take over. Personal computer. Thomas Watson famously said that he thought that there was a world market for maybe 5 computers in the world. He obviously didn't see the PC or, iPhone, Androids, devices, tablets, all the computing power that we have in the palm of our hand now would have blown their mind. In fact, all of these things actually do weigh a little less than 1.5 tons. It's interesting now to look back and play Monday morning quarterback, but that's part of the problem, is the problem of vision and seeing where things are going. One other example, obviously the internet. And even tech titans, even the smartest among us can get this wrong. Bill Gates in 1993 said, the internet, we're not interested in it. We are not interested. It doesn't fit our plan. It didn't do anything for us. It has nothing to do with our business. And just 2 years later, we found out this didn't age very well either. In a famous tidal wave memo, they call it, he says, it is a tidal wave. It changes the rules. It's an incredible opportunity as well as an incredible challenge. Now, I assign the internet the highest level of importance. I want to make clear that our focus on the internet is crucial to every part of our business. Yet, 2 years before, we're not interested in it. So what's going on with that? Well, I mean, again, it just outlines that it is very hard sometimes to see the positive benefits. And so when you don't see those, but you do feel the negative benefits, it does become hard to embrace and invest in new technology. So where does that leave us, and how should we think about it? Well, let me just say at the outset, the one thing that we are absolutely bullish on this. We absolutely think that it's a matter of stewardship, that people learn how to use these tools, embrace these tools, but they're not magic. They're not divine. They're not the Holy Spirit. They're not, it's not just some black box that you turn on and everything is awesome and great. Like anything else, they are tools that need to be used and leveraged effectively. And they will never replace the place of ministry and connection and the Holy Spirit working through people and truth to engage with other people in truth to change their lives. This was brought home pretty powerfully to me by my daughter, Casey, who just in June of 2024 got married. And they were doing counseling, and Casey's a labor and delivery nurse. And she went to the hospital one day, and giving birth, although natural and it's been done forever and ever, there are complications and things can happen in one day. And they do lose patients. They lose babies, and sometimes they lose mothers or both. And that can happen. And One day, that's exactly what happened with her. They lost a patient and they were going to meet their pastor to do premarital counseling. And they walked in, he opened the door and he saw her and saw her face and saw her now husband, Jake, and said, yeah, we're not doing that today. We're going to do something else. And so he brought them in and just ministered to them and took care of them in a very powerful way. Well, AI is not going to do that. And we are not saying that it will. We're saying that it's a tool that really can be effective in helping us minister and steward the resources that we have and the time that we have and the things that we have to minister more effectively. So with that in mind, what should be the posture then? We believe the posture should be, we don't just go along with it, but believers ought to be at the very forefront of shaping the conversation. They ought to be looking at policy and looking at security and looking at procedures and the right kind of guard rails to do it. And also the way how to use it more effectively. How do we do this? Well, learn about it. Don't be in fear, but learn. Assess how it applies. Then implement it, apply it, and then adjust as time goes on. We're at the front end of all of this. But we think it is incumbent upon, and it's even to put it in even stronger language, we think there's a moral imperative at this point for the church to be wise in how it uses technology. Now, we will admit that any technology tool, we have an enemy that would like to use that too. So what can be used for good can also be used for bad. The internet's a perfect example of that. There's a lot of stuff that it can waste a lot of time. There's a lot of bad stuff on there, a lot of crime committed on there. We know the negatives. But also back in 2022 was very powerful, or 2020 and 2021, I should say. It was very powerful when people were locked out and couldn't go to church. That tool was there to help connect people and minister and pray together and do worship services together. So we really feel like, to close up here, that it's like the parable of talents, really. We believe that the Lord has provided an unbelievable tool that with great power and great ability to be able to improve lives and enhance ministry and build the kingdom. And he's given that to us, and we should invest that wisely. When he returns, we don't want to say, yeah, we were afraid and we buried it. We'd rather say, hey, you gave me 5 and I invested it and here's 5 more, and have him say, hey, enter the joy of my service at this point. So with that said, okay, so what do we do? AI is a lot going on and it's big and there's lots of things happening. So where do we go from here? Well, I want to turn it over to Melody now. Melody's going to talk more about kind of personal productivity and how it can be used to well, I won't steal her thunder. I'll let her tell you. But in all areas of ministry and evangelism, discipleship, and worship and preaching and all the rest of it. So that's where she'll go. And I want to forecast real quickly in the last few seconds. In a follow-on webinar, we will do a webinar that will really look not just at the personal side of things in terms of individuals, but also how can AI tools be used to retool ministry processes and team things as well. And then in a third follow-on webinar, we will we'll look at, okay, if we're going to jump in and we're going to do all this and utilize this technology, then how do we protect ourselves? How do we make sure that we're being responsible and we're protecting our members and we're protecting the church? And so from a legal side and the insurance side and some other ways, we'll address those issues as well. But that's my time for today. So I want to turn it over to Melly now. And again, I really thank you and appreciate you being here and looking forward to all of us learning together.
Thanks, Scott. As Scott already said, we are at an inflection point, and that makes now a really good time to be exploring what AI can do for you in your ministry. AI has the potential to transform the way that we work, and I believe it's worth your time to learn. Microsoft research is showing that people start to feel a return on investment in taking that time to learn what AI can do for you when you start to consistently save around 11 minutes a day. That may not sound like a lot, but 11 minutes a day adds up to about a whole work week over the course of a year. I believe that you could make a difference to your life and the lives of others if you spent a week, a year less doing administrative work and a week more connecting with people or focused on the work that most interests you. So, what does it take to get there? Microsoft says that most people find they can get to that 11 minutes a day mark if they commit to learning and using the tools for about 11 weeks. There is a learning curve here. There's some trial and error. You've got to build those habits of using these tools as a part of your normal everyday workflow. It is a bit of a time commitment, but I think it's worth the payoff for you. So today, my demo is focusing on the personal productivity side of AI. I want to show you examples and give you ideas of how you can incorporate this technology into your everyday. My goal is not to give you a step-by-step guide, but really more to get your creativity flowing. There are a ton of AI tools that you can learn and use to get started. You may have already played around with ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, Perplexity, or a ton of others, and a lot of them have pretty similar functionality. Today, I'm going to focus on Microsoft Copilot for this demo for the simple reason that most of the churches we serve use Microsoft Office tools like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Teams. And Copilot offers great integration with these tools just to make your life easier. So that doesn't make this the very best tool for everyone in every circumstance, but it is a logical starting point for a lot of folks if you're looking to improve on your productivity. So let's jump into this demo and let's talk about some real world scenarios. So we've got Copilot open here, and I want to just mention that there are two versions of Copilot. There is the free version of Copilot that is available to everyone, and there is also a paid for version of Copilot called Copilot for Microsoft 365. That one has the access to your organization's data. By buying that subscription, it allows the integration in with your data and files, and certainly that's something I would consider worth the cost. The cost is $360 per year per user, which comes out to $1 a day, y'all. So if you can gain that much productivity, then it is you'll see the return on the investment. So I want to just start with some things that you can do directly inside of Copilot, even in the free version. So here we go. We're going to draft an email for our team. We just want to send out some general reminders, make sure they come to our staff training, make sure that we are getting our expense reports turned in, etc. And let's end with some encouragement. Great, here we go. All right, so I've had Copilot go ahead and build me that email. I didn't have to worry about the specific language. I just gave it the key points, and it has built out a beautiful email for me. I can go ahead and send right out to my team, or if I want to tweak this email, I can. So I can change the tone of it if I want. I can have it written more formal or more casual or more humorous. I could change the trivia fact if I wanted. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't read exactly the way you want it on your first go around. You can absolutely prompt Copilot or whichever tool you're using to go ahead and help it find the right voice that makes it sound like it was coming from you. So here's another version of this email. This one's a little more casual. And maybe I like this. Maybe I want to change it up again. But it is very quick and easy to get some ideas here, to get the ball rolling on communication. It certainly can help you streamline. It is a time saver, and it also allows you to build connection without having to fret over every single word that goes into your email. So that is a really handy thing. All right, for our next demo, let's create a meeting agenda. We can do that right inside of Copilot. I went ahead and pre-typed out some prompts here for Copilot so you didn't have to spend your time watching me type. So let's try this. I've said, build me an agenda for our next all-staff meeting, last no more than 60 minutes, and it needs to include the following things. Let's update this to October birthdays. I think that's going to take care of things for us here. We'll go ahead and draft this meeting agenda. Here it comes. Okay, there we go. So that is a pretty quick meeting agenda, getting things taken care of. It is just the highlights. If we wanted to add in additional detail here, certainly you could prompt Copilot with a few more details. One of the things that we could do is say, can we add in, how about let's add in a team building activity with details on how to do it. So, okay, we've got a team building activity here. 2 truths and a lie. Okay, great. How to play. We've got that laid out here for us. Awesome. So you can see you can work pretty quickly and efficiently just with the ideas that you have. If you can think it and type it, then AI can help kind of organize that content for you and come up with some solid ideas. Really, that is a huge time saver when you're planning your team meetings, to not have to get into the weeds on creating those email reminders and those agendas for people. All right, that one's great. Now, what about if we want to send a reminder email specifically about keeping the IT closet locked? Let's do this one. We're going to start a new topic here. Here we go. Draft reminder email to keep the IT closet locked. Okay, great. Hey, team, please keep the IT closet locked. Here we go. We've got some just real basic info in here. Of course, I didn't give it much of a prompt. I just said keep the IT closet locked. If I had added in more detail about what the proper procedures were or who has a key or anything like that, then Copilot would add that information in here, no problem at all. But what I wanted to show off for you is what if we need to write this email a little more casually? Let's write this for an audience of 4th graders. I am not insinuating that anyone on church staff would need communication as though it were written for 4th graders, but just in case, perhaps we want to really spell things out in as clear a way as possible. We can do some things like that. We got some other options as well. What about if we write it in the style of Yoda? Here we go. All right. So you can see it changes up the tone. It keeps it fun. It sounds like Yoda. You can do this in there's really no limit to how you can use the tone changing feature of Copilot's communication. If you want your emails to sound like they came from Yoda or Billy Graham or even Taylor Swift, you can absolutely do that. Please rewrite Let's see what we get here. All right. You can have a little bit of fun with this as you go. I wanted to just kind of emphasize that really the limit is just your creativity here. So if you are looking for striking just that right tone, absolutely you can do that here. So the next thing I wanted to mention is that Copilot or large language model AI can help you with research and planning. So that could be research for a sermon. Maybe it's what if we just have it write a modern sermon illustration of the Good Samaritan? Okay. Here we have right out of the gate a an updated idea of maybe what it means to be the Good Samaritan. Maybe this is a jumping off point or something to grab people's attention as you are starting to talk in a sermon. This is also a great tool for planning and research. So we'll give an example here for maybe preparing for a trip that you're going to take. I always start with please because I've heard that AI gives you better results when you are polite to it. I don't know if it's true or not. What if we decide we want an itinerary for an upcoming road trip to San Antonio for 2 people? We like, what do we like? Architecture, history, and good food, local food. So we'll get some recommendations on where to visit and restaurants, and we'll be there for a couple of days in October. So let's see what we get. Here we go. There's just a little bit of guidance here, and with just a little bit of guidance, I've got suddenly a beautiful itinerary written up on visiting San Antonio based on the things that I'm interested in and I like to do, and what I asked for. And so I can take this and from here I could click in and check out some of these restaurants or some of these things to do and get more information, maybe book some tickets. I think that is a really great time-saving feature, especially if you're planning a mission trip to somewhere you've never been. You can see how powerful a tool that is. I know this one is not specifically related to ministry, but if anybody spends their time maybe every Sunday afternoon after church working on a meal plan and a grocery list and that kind of a thing, you should know that Copilot can absolutely help you with your grocery list. So let's do this. Let's say plan 4 meals that can be cooked in 30 minutes or less that include a green vegetable, and how about this? For at least one meal, use I got some chicken thighs in the fridge that I know we need to use, so what can we do here? All right, I've got an instant meal plan. This is great. So let's do this and say, let's take this meal plan and create a grocery list for 3 people. So You'll see on this one, here's that part where I mentioned some trial and error may come in. It gave me a grocery list for one of those recipes, but let's ask it to do the whole list. How about a prompt like this? What will that do for us? There we go. That's what we needed to do. So I asked it for everything, and it gave us the whole list here. So even with recreating that prompt to get the information I wanted, it took all of 1 minute to get a meal plan and a grocery list for my week. You can see there's lots of things that you can do here with Copilot, and all of the stuff that I have showed you right here is available to you today in the free version of Copilot. So that is pretty great. So now I want to bump over and talk a little bit more about the paid version of Copilot and what all it can do for you. So let's jump into that. I really like a couple of features about the paid version of Copilot. As I mentioned, with that version, it lets Copilot integrate in with the tools you are already using, and I think that is wonderful. So let's just kind of talk about it this way. Do you need to pay for Copilot? You do not have to pay for it, but I will say this. Free services often collect and use user data for various purposes, including for improvement, training, advertising. The free tools' privacy policies tend to allow for broader data usage. Paid services typically offer more stringent privacy policies and give you better control over your data and your privacy. So with a paid subscription to Microsoft Copilot for 365, your data is your data. It is not used to train any kind of Microsoft tool. It is not shared. You can call up your data and use it in your AI searches and building things, but you are not obligated to share that with the world. Just by nature of having interacted with that data using AI. So I just wanted to mention that as we get going. The other thing that I want to mention as a part of Copilot is this. This one's important. Microsoft Copilot can see and access all of the files that you have access to. So if I, Melody, have a Copilot license, then Copilot for me is going to have access and visibility into any file that I, Melody, has access into. Now, it's not going to return information on files I don't have access to. However, file storage and file permissions is something to confirm is working well, that you guys have this shored up before you go handing out Copilot licenses to people. If you are unclear about where data is stored or who has access to which folders of information, I think it's worth doing a check on that. Talk to your IT folks. Because while it isn't a change, the data that people used to have access to, they might not have known they had access to it. It might have been a lot harder to track it down. But with AI, and all people have to do is ask a question or type something in, and it's going to go find information, it will become much easier for people to find out information that they maybe accidentally or unknowingly had access to. So that is absolutely something to consider organizationally before you move forward there. Certainly, if you're an Enable client and this is something that's a concern to you, please reach out to your strategy consultant so that we can talk to you about that and you can feel confident when you go and turn on Copilot licenses for your team. Okay, all that said, you saw me toggle between the web version and the work version. With a paid Copilot subscription, I've got a work toggle here, which means that when I ask questions or create prompts here in Copilot, it's going to incorporate data from my organization in the answer. And that means it can, I can search for specific files. I can quickly retrieve information. This is really great for new people who are learning their way around. Maybe they know a file exists, but they don't know where it is. You can do something like, let's find a file. Maybe it is something I have used recently. Maybe I want to find a DFW file here. And just by starting to type in the name, it helped me find the file that I was looking for and immediately even attached it so I can open it up. I haven't even hit enter on this prompt yet. It was very easy to help find what I was looking for. And the way you do that is by using the / key. And that is going to be your find option. And you can find people, you can find files, meetings or emails, and really the world is your oyster. So start using that to find what you're looking for to be able to quickly retrieve information. Now with Copilot's integration with Excel, something cool it can do is help you to analyze the data or come up with formulas without having to do a ton of searching. Really, it helps improve your skills. So let's try an example. Please refer to a specific file. Let's see if it can find the file I'm looking for. There it is. My AI demo data file. And we're going to ask it for pivot table options to help better understand the data. Let's see what we get. So Copilot is reviewing my file and it is taking a look at the data that's in there and it's saying, hey, based on the data that you have in here, here are some insights that you could gain if you set your data up or filtered it in certain ways, if you used a pivot table in these ways. I think that's really helpful information. Another thing that it can do is it can, let's do this. Let me copy paste here. So let's ask it to provide a formula that will calculate the last 6 months of data for each account and explain what I need to customize in the formula. Maybe I am not great with Excel and I know that there's a way to get the data I'm looking for, but I don't know what the formula is. Now I can ask Copilot and it's going to take a look at that file and, excellent. Here is a formula that I can use to get the data that I'm looking for. So I can use this average function and then it's going to tell me exactly what I need to customize in there to make sure I get the data that I'm looking for. How convenient is that? I love that feature. One other really cool thing that Copilot can do is actually write reports for you. So it can read your documents and then summarize them. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So let's find our file here. All right, here we go. This is a whole long PDF document and I can open it right from here. So I'll just show you what it looks like. So this is a Microsoft document. You can see 40 pages. I have not yet found the time to read all of the statistics here, but I want to know what's going on in this document. So let me Let me just come over here and have it build a report for me. Let's do this. We're going to have it build us an executive summary. So I'm going to have AI read this for me. And then here, in just seconds, I've got the key findings, key recommendations. Now I can read that 40-page document in about 2 minutes. So that is really cool. All right, I want to bump over and show you some of the integration inside of the tools that you actually are using on a day-to-day basis. So let's take a look at Outlook. We all know it. We all love it. Let's do this. So the first thing I want to show you is you'll notice here I have a blue summarize button now at the top of my emails. Now, I'm sure none of you have ever gotten an email that was too long or gotten put on an email chain with a whole bunch of reply alls where you're trying to keep track of who said what or find some specific information or see what actually applies to you. Now I can, with a click of a button, hit that summarize button, and it's going to show me, even in this long email chain, who said what are the key points, so that I can very quickly get to see just exactly what has gone on, where are we, what are we looking at. So I don't even have to click on the most recent email. It will include all of the emails in the chain that are related to each other in that summary, which is super convenient. So I love that about it. So you can summarize your emails really quickly. Another thing that you can do is, I want to just show you an example. I had a meeting with Scott Smith as we were talking about how we wanted to prepare this webinar and this AI content. And so I turned on transcription in our meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I asked AI to read through that transcript and create the main points that we discussed, so make a summary for us, and also to show what were the action items and things we needed to come up with. I told Copilot that we were creating a presentation and asked it to create an outline for our presentation based on the conversation that we had. And it was able to summarize our meeting and then also give me a sample outline based on what we had talked about. So then finally, I had AI take all of that and I said, please draft an email back to Scott telling him that this is what this is and where it came from and what we're doing with it. And you can see the prompt I used. I said this meeting was to plan out a presentation, review the meeting, draft a recap, draft an outline, and then draft an email from Melody to Scott sharing this all. And so what I got was this email that I was able to send to Scott. It took me about 2 minutes of work instead of what otherwise would have been easily an hour's worth of work to put everything together. And maybe I don't have to say this out loud, but this also let us both in that meeting put our full brain power into collaboration and working together and brainstorming. Neither one of us was tied up with taking the notes. Our AI tool was able to do that for us, which was pretty great. It is really easy for AI to take notes in your meeting. Let me just find one from today. Here is a meeting I was in today. And what I can do with Copilot is I can just click this recap button. And since I had transcription turned on for this meeting, I have a transcript of everything that was said in the meeting. And I can click this AI notes button, and AI has automatically, even without me asking, it's gone ahead and drafted a meeting summary and listed out all of the follow-up tasks for this meeting. Now I can very easily just take that and copy it. I have a Copilot license, but not every person on my team does. But I want everyone to have access to these notes. So I'm taking my AI notes, and then I can bring them right over here to the regular notes section of the meeting and just paste them in here. And now everyone on my team has the meeting notes from this morning's meeting. And they do come with a note right at the top that says, these were generated by AI. Be sure to check for accuracy. I have had it happen only once, but I did have it happen once where I was in a meeting and the recap didn't exactly capture everything in the meeting. So it is worth taking a look and making sure that what you're posting out for the team is accurate. One other neat feature that happens while you are inside a Teams meeting is that you get the option to do a quick recap. So if you've ever had to join a meeting late and you wanted to quickly catch up on what had happened so far until you got there, with a click of a button, you can get a quick meeting recap so that when you do get there, you can jump right in and participate with the context of what's gone on before. Really handy so that you aren't playing catch up. Okay. From there, I would love to show you what it can do inside PowerPoint. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up PowerPoint here. And I'm going to open a blank presentation. And this is so fun. I'm going to click the Copilot button. And from right here, I am going to say, create a presentation from, and I used my slash key so that I can start searching for a file. I know I have a sermon written on the Good Samaritan. Here it is. So I have a Word document with my sermon written out in it. And with this click of a button, it's going to take my Word document sermon and it's going to go ahead and build me out a PowerPoint that goes along with that sermon. So it's going to find my key points, my bullet points. It's going to format it. It's going to add in appropriate backgrounds. It's going to do all of that work so that I don't have to, friends. Now, it does take about a minute for it to pull up, but oh, hey, here it is. Now I've got written right here my Good Samaritan PowerPoint presentation, and it is based on the sermon I have in that Word document. I'm not going to lie, I did not write that sermon. It is borrowed from someone else, but here it is, all the things that I wanted to have right here in it. I love this for it, and I think this is a huge time saver. Now, when I'm looking at this, for me, this is more detail than I would want in the slides if I was giving a presentation or presenting a sermon. So I might choose to go in and tweak this document, but I can absolutely tweak it, and this is a great starting point for me. So it's easy to go in and make changes, add or delete things, but I have a great starting point for it. So does this completely remove the need for me as a human, as a real person trying to convey a specific message? It does not absolve me from my responsibility to go back in here and make sure it's what it needs to be, right? AI is a tool. It is not a replacement, though, for our own brains and our own skills. So use it for what it's for, but don't make it more than it is. This is a really cool feature, though. So now, let's do this. Let's open Word. And I'll just pull up a blank document here. And you can see here it says I can start drafting with Copilot if I want to. And I think that I will do that. Let's do this. How about we draft a guide to reset your own password in Microsoft 365 without having to call the IT department. I bet there are a lot of people who would rather not have to call IT and would love to know how to reset their own password. So you saw earlier, I asked Copilot to draft an email and draft meeting agendas in the web application, and it did that, but I would have had to copy it and paste it into Word or into an Outlook email. But here with the paid for version, I can have it draft directly into my program, and it adds the formatting in for us, which really does save a lot of time. And so if you find yourself spending a lot of time training people how to do tasks, this is an absolute game changer. You can have Microsoft Copilot draft the things that you want to draft. And as I mentioned before, you may find that you need to tweak a thing or two, but absolutely having a starting point here works really well. Absolutely something I recommend giving a try. Here's another one that I'll do. Let's just select all of that and delete it, and let's go again. This is a best practice I can offer you. When you are drafting a document or creating a prompt using AI tools, one of the tricks of the trade is to assign a role to the AI tool. Tell it which kind of a filter it should be using to present the answers to you. So what I mean is, I'm going to get a better answer for, here, let's pull a question here. So some people want to leave their cars in our parking lot for several days, draft a liability waiver that holds the church harmless in case of damage to these cars while on our property. Okay, great. If we started here, you're going to get a little bit more generic response. It won't be a bad starting point, but you can get a better starting point if you give the tool a role. So let's tell it, act as a contract lawyer, and then have it generate our document. Now, let me just clarify here. You should not trust Microsoft Copilot for your legal advice. Please don't do that. However, the point here is that when you tell it what lens to filter the data and responses through, you often get more targeted results, which are closer to what you're looking for. So absolutely something to consider. All right, so you see it quickly came up with something that it looks pretty official, something to sign that hopefully limits the liability for the church. I think that's a great thing. So as I mentioned, lots of tools have this same kind of feature in it, the ability to craft prompts and get responses, build timelines, do research, help you streamline your communication, help to build content for you. I don't know about you guys, but for me, just getting over the fear of a blank page, for me, it's always easier to build on something or tweak something that's already in existence than it is to start writing from scratch. And so by prompting Copilot and telling it what I'm trying to do, explaining my intent, explaining my audience, often I'm able to get that starting point that is a springboard for my creativity to be able to go then and create the content that I wanted to. So that is a few things that Microsoft Copilot can do for you that I wanted to just show you today. As I said, there are many tools that can do this for you, but this one has great integrations in. You've seen them here in PowerPoint, in Word, in Outlook, in Excel. and in Microsoft Teams. And so if that is your world, then I think this is a great starting point. And I would absolutely encourage you to dip your toe in the water. Start seeing if you can work Copilot into some of your daily workflow. The next time you get stuck on a question, instead of going to Google, go to Copilot and ask it what you're looking for. See if it doesn't help come up with a really useful answer for you. And if it doesn't give you the answer that you're looking for, you can recraft your question or tweak it or help guide the iterative response in a way that you cannot with Google, right? All Google can give you is links to other things. So, y'all, I'm excited to be on this journey with you. And if this was helpful content, if this was inspiring to give you some ideas on how to get started, that's great. If you have questions and you want to take a next step, please give us a call. We would love to talk with you about what's the right next step for your church. And if you're excited to see some other AI tools that have a focus on ministry or have the ability to help in ministry specific kinds of tasks, our next webinar in this series is going to cover some different tools beyond personal productivity. We're going to look at content generation, image generation, video content, how AI can help you create social media content that can expand your reach, a whole bunch of things that are coming up in that next webinar. So if you are not currently on our list to get our AI content, go ahead and subscribe for that so that you do not miss the remaining webinars in this AI series. We are excited to be bringing those to you here real soon. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn this back over to Carolyn. Thanks so much, y'all.
Thank you all again for joining us today. We have provided a QR code so you can submit questions and to download our Getting Started with AI. As a reminder, you'll receive an email with access to replay this webinar as well as the AI resources. Be on the lookout for part 2 of this webinar series, and we will get those dates to you soon. Thank you and have a wonderful day.